Hello you guys and welcome to my house in Disney Dreamlight Valley. I have recently redecorated all of my house and upgraded my storage with the new Sleeping Beauty storage chest, as well as using plenty of new items. I took inspiration from this photo I found on Pinterest by Tasha and Pixelland, and I really loved how they used the columns as well as the Cinderella bookshelves to kind of do a split room design. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be showing you how I took my original storage layout and upgraded it into this new system I'm using. So let's go ahead and get on into it. I know many of you had followed my previous storage system setup, so I wanted to show you guys how you could go from that layout to this new layout since we can now expand the rooms. And that is what I did for this first. I started out by extending the room to 12 by 12. You also may notice that the furniture I used in this build is different from my original storage system. However, the layout here is the same. So what I did is swap out the cabinets for a different aesthetic. I really wanted to mix in some elements that went along with the Sleeping Beauty cottage look. So I did already spend some time swapping the cabinet pieces I had used previously, as well as swapping all of the chests and all of the items within them into the large Sleeping Beauty chests. I also swapped my refrigerator for that cabinet you see in the back left with the fruit on it. That is going to be used as my refrigerator in this build. And I also changed my cooking station to the Sleeping Beauty cooking station. Designing in this first main room has been very tricky for me because when extending this room, I found it very difficult to fill up the whole space with a kitchen design. So once I saw Tasha's design on Pinterest, it really inspired me to try out a split room design, and it finally kind of clicked in my head as to how we could do that. So I'm using plenty of items from the Sleeping Beauty furniture collection as well as Cinderella. These columns are really going to come in handy along with the bookshelves. By the way, we are designing the second floor main room, and this is the floor that I have all of my Eternity Isle storage set up. I'm keeping the same layout of the rooms that I had originally with my storage system. However, we're really just giving them a makeover and upgrading them with some new beautiful items. Now, you will have noticed that I did put a chest under the sink, and that is holding all of my seafood. And then I'm using the suspended shelf and bringing on over my chest that has all of my spices to go under that little spice rack. I thought that was quite clever. Here I am moving these little columns over. It's kind of tricky for me to know if things are lined up in this game sometimes. So this is just a little trick I like to do, is just kind of make a line and see if everything kind of lines up together. So I'm adding in a bookshelf in the middle of the room, and this is going to be covering that back door, and it is also going to act as a center point for our build. I mixed in the little kitchen stove there on the right, and then of course we have our would-be fridge, which is really kind of like a cabinet in the other corner. So now we're at the point where we have these random other things left on the other side of the room that I decided not to use. So I'm removing these extra cabinet pieces, and this storage chest I decided to put next to my stove that is holding a bunch of cooked Eternity Isle meals, and then I ended up just going on over and picking up all of the leftover food that I had on the countertops. So by the stove here we have all the vegetables from Eternity Isle in color order, and then off to the other side we have all the fruit in color order, just how I had them before. This wallpaper from Hercules has really stolen my heart, so I have been using that all over in my house, particularly in all of these main rooms as well as these new Sleeping Beauty cottage doors. I don't have the cottage door that is just kind of like a one level door. I only have the upstairs and the downstairs versions currently, but I might change those out whenever Scrooge decides to bless me with that item. Here I'm just filling in the side of the room that has the kitchen on it, so I added a window behind the spice rack, which I thought was really cute, and just some other cluttery bits on the walls. And then it's time to get working on the back half of the room, and this is what I've been having a lot of fun with when designing my other storage floors, because this back room I can kind kind of do whatever I want, whereas the front of the room, I've been keeping the same kind of layout with the kitchen feature. For my Eternity Isle storage in the back of this room, I decided I wanted to turn it into a gaming room and kind of make it look a little bit like what I wish my office in real life looked like. So I grabbed out a few tables. I really wanted to use this Cinderella desk, however, none of the computers would fit on it, so I ended up going with this gaming desk from Wreck-It Ralph and slid that up right against the Cinderella bookcase, added in a little chair, and then I remembered that these weird memory floating tubes existed, and I thought those would be so perfect for this gaming room. I've been really wanting to find a place for these lights in my home, and this ended up being a really good space for them because my office in real life has a lot of multicolor lights like this too. Something else that is new since I have last designed my storage is that we can now customize the ceiling textures, so I did that, and of course I added in a little teacup on my desk as a nod to my channel name. Then I added in some lighting into our kitchen area, and then it is time to start making the back of the game room feel really cozy. So I of course added in more lights because something about me is when I add an item that I like, it's usually hard for me to stop adding it. So I decided to add more of them in the corners of this room just to kind of add some fun on the walls. And then I used a bunch of the little beanbag chairs from the Bell bundle in this room to make it really cozy. I don't have beanbag chairs in my office in real life, but I would love to have one day, or one of those Pompazon chairs, if you guys know what I mean. That is my dream one day, to have one of those in my office. I added in this really gorgeous rug from Charlotte's bundle that is in the premium shop. If you ever catch that in your shop, definitely scoop it up. That is also where the pink lamps I put on my desk are from. I added in this gorgeous little mirror above the sink. I would like to add in the cottage window from the Sleeping Beauty collection, but again, we have to wait for the duck to bless us with such items. I decided to add in some plants next to my desk. However, some of them were just too tall and they were clipping through the light fixtures, so I went for these short ones. Since we are building for my Eternity Isle storage floor, I decided to add in these vinyl records that you can craft at a time bending station, and I decided to build out a cool little chill area over here in the corner with the records on the table, and then I added in a little side table next to my little beanbag chair. As I was looking through some new items I recently got in the game, I discovered this little glowing sun from Joy's Quest, and I thought that is so perfect to go along with the Tangled theme since we got Rapunzel in the Eternity Isle DLC, and I thought the sun looked so perfect on this little purple table. So I went along and just added in some more Rapunzel elements. Not only is this going to help me to identify which floor I'm on, but it also just looks really cute and is perfect for a little hobbyist room because Rapunzel has so many hobbies. So I added in the Pascal lantern as well as the easel, and I also added in the golden flower cloche on top of the dining table when you walk in. So as soon as I enter this level, I'll know immediately that it's for my Eternity Isle storage. If you're curious how the rest of my storage makeover has turned out, I will have the full tour linked in the description and as well as on a card. I spent a lot of time working on this revamp, but I'm really happy with how everything has turned out. I feel like this vibe definitely suits my aesthetic more and definitely feels more like home and more like me. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this and maybe take some inspiration from it. If you're looking for ways you can upgrade your storage into the larger room size, hopefully this helped you out and gave you some inspo as to how you can fill up the first room. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.